See you. Hello, gorgeous Her Drive audience. Welcome back to another episode where I am just so filled with gratitude for your attention. Obviously, our time is one of the most, if not the most valuable commodity of sorts that we have. And it's always a high honor when people tune in to the magnificent voices that I get to talk to and, provide a platform for them to really echo out what is in their hearts and heads and honestly their soul missions. And today I am over the moon because I am getting to introduce you all to someone who I've gotten to spend some time with, and I call her a friend, and she's also someone who I truly admire in really big ways. And for me to say that, not that I'm someone that's so important, but I really look up to people who are not just, achieving in like the worldly way, but they also are achieving in a sense in a spiritual way and show up with big hearts and presence and just this power that is palatable, right? And is not domineering, but you can just feel it. And so anyway, Dominique Osborne is one of those people, and I'm so pumped for you all to hear her really fucking cool, powerful story of, just being a badass and making decisions that I think many people who had been in places that she had been in would have gone a completely different trajectory. And to me, it just speaks to the fact of why I created Her Drive. And Her Drive was founded on the principle of telling the stories of women overcoming adversity. And by hearing their stories, we can look at our anthills or our mountains and really understand that if that person can go through that experience and come into a higher state of being, I can accomplish, traversing my mountains as well. So anyways, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Dominique Osborne. She is the founder of Igniting Queens, which essentially is her guiding female entrepreneurs who are experiencing burnout to identify their pain points and blocks so that they can lean into a more feminine way of being. As many people know, burnout a lot of times comes from being in our modern structure, which is built around masculine principles. And we'll kind of dive into all of that, I'm sure. But anyways, I'm really excited about the work that she's now doing and introduce you all to her. So without further ado, hello, darling.
Yes. Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for having me here. I am so excited and I love the fiery introduction. I think, did you call me a fucking badass?
Pretty sure I
Those were two. Something, yeah,
did.
along those lines. I felt it. So
Yeah,
thank you.
you
Thank you
fucking
so much.
are.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And yeah, I'm just so happy to be here and play in the space with you and create some magic and just see, where we go with it. I'm
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a juicy conversation. So,
Juicy.
where should we start? I
Mhm.
think we want to just give credit where credit is due and not focus too much here, but kind of provide a bit of your story so people understand where you're
Yeah.
coming from and
Mm.
why I would proclaim you as the badass that you are.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't, yeah, I'm not subtle about my badassery. I for a long time was a bit of a rebel without a cause, although, that was about 15 years ago. Now, looking back now, I know there's a purpose to my rebellion
Mm.
in my teen years. I grew up in a pretty chaotic household, and my mom had severe PTSD, which she experienced from her traumatic childhood. So there's some generational trauma going on there. And then around 14, I started diving into my own traumas and then being in a very, very physically and emotionally abusive relationship from 14 until 19. So really throughout my developmental years of, when most women or, girls are trying to lean into what kind of woman that they are looking to become, I was going through a very dark period, which I look back and I was like, it's like my dark ages.
Mm.
And I just any mud I could find to drag myself through, I would. So it was pretty sad. And then around 17, I found out I was pregnant, and that really made me shift gears,
Mm.
because at the time, I reflecting back, I was very much fucking up my life. Heads like very headstrong, determined. And but once I knew I was going to have my daughter, I'm like, I can fuck my life up. I cannot fuck hers up. So then all
Mm.
of a sudden, from being a high school dropout, not caring about my grades or college or thinking about my future at all, hanging out with a dark crowd, kind of doing some drugs and sneaking out, and moving out around 17, a lot of stuff. Yeah, and I just shifted and I started reading all the parenting books I could get my hands on. I became one of the most resourceful people I know, just figuring out how to get onto welfare and food stamps, and how can I make this happen? How does a
Mm.
17-year-old, raise a baby? Which is a great question. But I was determined that, there was just no going back and I had to figure it out.
Mm.
So I injected a shit ton of energy into really figuring out how to raise another human being. And yeah, and so that brought me to just, yeah, being very, very, I guess, resourceful. And I knew I wasn't in academia, or I thought I wasn't in academia, even though I just shared with you I'm like studying how to be a parent, but something in my mind said, you're not fit for college. You got to figure
Mm.
out another way.
Mhm.
So yeah, around 2021, I started researching. I started doing marketing for roofing companies and just kind of contracting out. And then I met this who became my first business partner, and it was an immigrant from Australia who came here with $2,000 and nothing else, and just wanted to tap into the real estate market. And so we both kind of were kids that had huge dreams and nothing to lose. And so we combined efforts and created what now is Ohio Cashflow and Oz Realty, my two real estate companies that became quite successful. We won Inc. 5000 2 years in a row. And yeah, that helped me financially support my daughter. And the last 4 years, my full-time job has been inner work and finding myself, because while I was able to financially support my daughter, I threw all my energy into, doing that, and not into that emotional health, um, into my spiritual or emotional body. So I was fully driven in my masculine and not a very, that soft, nurturing part. So
Mhm.
I'm blessed to have gotten my companies to a point where I run it pretty passively and virtually. And I've just been doing this deep dive work of catching up with myself, and then, tapping into my own source of love and being able to really return that and nourish my loved ones in an intentional way. So that
Mm.
it's been a full journey, and it's still going.
Yeah. I think the journey always continues. And what I've experienced in my own life is, yeah,
Mm,
there's certain hurdles or rites of passage of sorts that were
mm,
either self-generated or just a part of the school of life that
mm,
I've gone through that I don't think need repeating. But I
mm,
think in a lot of ways we can spiral upwards in our growth. And,
mhm,
what might have been really triggering or challenging at one point, as you spiral up, you come back to something similar to it, or even that same dynamic or
mhm,
situation, etc. Energetic footprint
mhm,
might come to it from a different lens of approach, healing, viewpoint, so to speak.
mhm.
And to me, that's how I can see like, oh, my journey's not growing, but or finished, but how I measure it is how I respond to that similar type of experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. With, just looking back at some of the work I've done, it's so inspiring when you come across some things that might trigger you or throw you back before, and you've done some healing and work through that it doesn't phase you as much. And that
Mhm.
kind of allows you to navigate the world and the
Yeah.
and obstacles with a lot a stronger foundation within
Mhm.
yourself, and this trust that
Yeah.
although things will get hard, I won't get thrown out of my body, and this trust that I will be okay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's a beautiful kind of part of diving in deep and doing your work, your inner
Mm.
work.
Absolutely. Well, kind of going back into your story a little
Mm.
bit, where you were pregnant and you ultimately like it was like it sounds to me like there was like a flip of a switch or something just like clicked into
Hmm.
place. And
Yep.
I'm curious what that might be, or is what is inherent to you that would happen, whereas some people that may not have you given much thought to it, what that motivator was outside of just I am responsible for someone else? Because I think,
Mm.
and the reason I ask this question is this is something I ask a lot. Like, I think there's some of us, you can put two people in the same situation or maybe in the
Mm.
same household, right?
Hmm.
Siblings. And some of us have this like resiliency or this like they take that situation that and they make maybe like positive, we'll say positive advancement from it, and others
Mm.
might not, they may crumble. So that's kind of
Mm.
what I'm getting at. And just
Yeah.
curious, what do you think it is about you?
Yeah. 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 Love that question. And I have actually reflected back on that because I could have gone a different direction. I should have, society would say, I kind of should be not where I am today,
Mm,
and I look back, I'm like, what, what the fuck was in me? What was that ingredient in me
yeah.
that
Mm,
propelled me? And so I've done some work, and it wasn't just like having my daughter was the catalyst that propelled me out of my darkness. I needed something that was bigger than myself.
got it.
But reflecting back, on the girl I was, before experiencing my own, abuse and trauma, I was dreaming. I'm from a poor family. We didn't travel a lot. We didn't have a lot. We shopped at thrift stores and all this stuff. But I dreamed about going to Italy. I'm like, what? Why would I think that I could? I didn't experience anyone in my life ever doing these kind of luxury travels. I'm like, why did I think I could do that? Especially if I wasn't really gearing towards college, which at the time is kind of, shoved down your throat. This is the only way you'll find financial success is if you go to college. Um, but I think the root here that birthed this in me was seeing my mom. So my mom is an extremely smart woman and a very well-read woman. And she always wanted to live bigger, and she would always talk about philosophy and traveling and cultures, and really passionate and always wanted to travel. It was like she would always talk about traveling to Europe, even though we never could. It was just like she would dream. I would hear her dreams. And I remember getting a little bit especially when I started becoming a teenager, I would be resentful. Like, why don't you do something about it? Why are you just griping about having this life? And then you're
Um,
just not going to do anything about it. And then you're just going to sit here and kind of be miserable, but not pursue your dreams. Why? I didn't understand why she wouldn't do that. So I think she kind of inspired in me, the she dared me to dream. And then
yeah,
I wanted to up level that even a little bit further because I saw what life looks like if you only dream.
yeah,
And that was not actually acceptable. I had to find a way out of that. I didn't want to live that life. I would almost rather just be content rather than living kind of a drabby life, or how one would perceive a drabby life, and then dream all these beautiful, sparkly luxuries and stuff like that, and then but never have it and feel like you could never have it. So her own, I think, traumas and fears and internal blocks blocked her from pursuing. And
hmm,
that's very sad to see too. So I think she helped me dare to dream. And then my daughter was the catalyst of propelling me out and living demanding to live in a certain way. I really demanded it. I was just not willing to settle.
wow. That what you just shared, the whole time, like things were just lighting up inside of me, and I'm just like,
Mm.
holy fucking shit. Sorry for my potty mouth today, guys. Um, wow, holy shit. Like
Mm.
the the landing on people just dreaming, right? Like, and we
Mm.
talk about like you can manifest. I feel like I manifest things pretty powerfully, but
Mm-hmm.
there's
Me too.
also the magic that God meets you when you take action too, right?
Mm.
And what an interesting reflection back. Thank you for
Mm.
sharing that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the that was a beautiful question and it really opened it up. I haven't had someone ask me that before, even though I've reflected on it. So it was nice
Mhm.
to articulate that and get that out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think later on I'm going to dive into this even deeper in my own self. So thank
Yeah.
you. I love
Hmm.
these conversations.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, so I have another question for you in regards to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Um, It's more so, I think it's a trend that we see is that a lot of times people they grind. They
Mm.
grind, and then they reach a breaking point, and then they're like called in, like they cannot go on any further. And that is
Mm.
like this call to depth, right?
Mm.
And we see it in men, we see it in women, we see it people in whatever your gender may be. Why
Mm-hmm.
do you think that's predominantly the formula?
Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. I think people pursue their perception of success from a place rooted in fear. And I think that can only last so long. I think a little bit, I don't love victimhood or pointing fingers, but I do feel strongly that society tries to kind of keep us small, and there's so much in the media that wants us to operate from places of fear and scarcity. So I think to succeed, we're told that you must self-sacrifice.
Hmm.
And one can only sacrifice so much of self before they are completely depleted,
Yeah.
and I think, and sometimes that's necessary, I guess, in one's journey,
Mhm.
to become, you know, a shattered mess on the floor. And then you have the opportunity to choose what pieces you want to put together with intention and with heart and with a little bit of like, fuck that, I'm not doing it that way again.
Yeah.
Um, but so sometimes we have to start, I guess, from there. That seems to be a lot of our journeys. And I do feel like society has a lot to do with that. That you must hustle and grind, nothing's given to you.
Yeah.
You must sacrifice, nothing comes for free. All this stuff is jammed into our brains. And I mean, and I did it. I lived from that place and operated from that place and found a certain level of success, which I'm totally tearing down what success actually means right now.
Yeah.
But I found a certain level of monetary success, and until I shattered and I reached a huge level of burnout. I got to a point where, in society, everyone should be like, oh, you should be happy. You did all this stuff, and then like you hustled, you grinded, you sacrificed, you reached at this level, and you should be happy and fulfilled and glowing. And I was the opposite.
Mm.
I was like traveling to Italy, what I dreamed of. All like I dreamed of since I was like 11 or 12. And it was like nothing was resonating with me. I didn't feel. I didn't light up. I
Mm.
couldn't be in the moment,
Yeah.
so I really lost myself, in that hustle and the grind, and it and
Mhm.
it took a lot of intention, and a lot of healing to find come home to myself again, and to really I'm redefining what is success.
Mm.
So that was
Beautiful.
a long answer.
Great. It's a great answer. And, I've observed people from all different levels of success in life and
Mm,
breakdown. And there just seems to be that pattern, like you attain a certain level of success, however you originally defined it, whether that
mm,
was self-generated definition
mm,
or if it was, formed mainly in part from societal pressures, family systems, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like almost like we need a certain level, not all of us, because there's totally exceptions to every rule, but for a lot of the people I've been around, they've reached that success, so to speak, and
Mm-hmm.
then they feel hollow, empty, like what's the
Mm-hmm.
there? Where's my mission? And then they
Mm-hmm.
have kind of built this support system of like financial success many
Mm-hmm.
times, or a cushion where they then can lean into making that shift. And of course, this is not for everyone. A lot of people quit their jobs and they're just it's blow up a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm kind of, you know, weaving right now as I speak, but it's just I think such a beautiful awakening, no matter when a person reaches this point of
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, wait, without me finding some sort of personal mission, my mission
Mm-hmm.
statement, I think, is more important than my definition of success.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and I'm just so curious with you moving forward. You had said, you know, you're redefining success.
Yeah.
So what is your new definition, and is it attached to a mission statement?
Right. Ugh, I like it. So yeah, so I've, you know, so first of all, I'd like to touch on, we're constantly shifting into different phases of ourselves, and so I'm kind of having a lot, well, I am having a lot of grace in my process and how I'm redefining and moving and shifting parts of me and calling in certain parts of me and then letting other parts die and identifying narratives and then throwing away old narratives that actually aren't aligned anymore. And it's kind of a constant, I'm like constantly shifting around. So, with that being said, like right now, how I'm working on redefining success is I am not willing to do anything by myself anymore. I was that kind of standard hustle, grind, woman entrepreneur, single mother, doing everything on her own. If someone offered help or the thought to ask for help was to me weakness, I
Mm,
would
yeah.
not accept or ask for help for anything. So I would just do it all on my own
Yeah.
because the narrative at the time was if I couldn't do it on my own, then that meant I couldn't do it.
Oh,
And
I see.
I couldn't let that be my reality. So I had to almost prove to myself and to the world I can do this on my own.
Got it.
Wow, how much can you achieve by yourself? Well, I've achieved a lot by myself, but now I'm in the phase of my life where success is really it's 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 calling in your tribe in sisterhood in love in all directions. I'm demanding love in my career, in my coaching, in I'm calling in my soulmate. I'm calling in beautiful women like yourself to share our magic with, our ideas, our inspiration. I want to grow you. I want you to help grow me. I want to create like portals of light where we can catalyze each other and
Mhm.
everybody fucking thrives. I want to thrive. I'm calling in love and how I feed my body. How do I eat? Am I loving myself with what I'm eating and putting into my body every day? I'm calling into in love and how do I play and how do I make time for me to play? Um, I am not, yeah, I'm just, it's collaboration, it's love, it's light, it's play, it's intention. And I
Mhm.
am still dreaming big, you know,
Yeah.
I won't stop. I won't ever stop. I'm just igniting myself from a
Mhm.
place of, I'm replacing the narrative of like, you're going to be a broke single mom living on welfare again unless you do this shit. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
built up my fortress. I
Yep.
can lean on that. I can trust myself now.
Mhm.
I won't be that again. Now from a place of love. So I created this from a place of fear. I've gone far. Now, fuck, game over. Imagine what I do from a place of love, you know?
Absolutely.
That's
Mhm.
success. Living in those directions from a place of love. That's success.
Mhm. It's
That's how I'm
fantastic.
redefining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I feel it, all of it. Yeah. Yeah, I relate to so much of that in the hustle mode, the not wanting to ask for help, that being a sign of weakness, operating
Mm,
from a state of fear, where with that you're running away from something
mm,
rather than
mm.
running
Towards.
towards. Yeah, I want to run towards. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, with your coaching business,
Mm,
Ignite Queens. It's
yeah.
a powerful name. How did you come
Thank you.
up with that?
Let's see. So, mm, so queen, I knew I wanted to incorporate queens just because part of my journey was truly stepping into my queen energy, and it's never been, some people have interpreted it as like I'm considering myself a queen where I place myself higher or something like that. No, not at all. I believe every woman has queen energy in her. And
Mm,
so I knew I wanted to incorporate queen because part of my journey, and also then part of what I want to share my energy towards other, helping guide other women to this, is calling in their queen energy to step forth,
mm,
to
mm.
redefine success and what that means for them.
Yeah.
So there's queen and then igniting. You know, I think something about the story of the Phoenix, I really resonate with. And I have part of my journey was really dying so much,
Hmm.
shattering so much, and then really learning to embrace the flames, learning to embrace each new version of myself and still honor the parts that I needed to let go and to die. So, yeah, Igniting Queens was very intentional with bringing kind of this fiery queen energy and calling this forth because it's in all of us, you
Yeah.
know. So, yeah, that's kind of how Igniting Queens was birthed.
I love that. And um, to me, like igniting is very similar to the word activating, right? So if you
Mm,
have queen energy within your DNA system, your feminine structure, somehow it needs activated. And a
mhm.
lot of times that activation comes through alchemy. And if someone's
Yes.
experiencing burnout, they need a new spark,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you say to the women that come forward and are like, Dominique, fuck, I just can't do it anymore. Like I am tired. There's nothing
Mm.
left. I'm depleted. What do
Hmm.
we do? How help me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, just really, first of all, I hear you,
Yeah.
um, and I'd like to honor the journey that you've been on, and what's gotten you this far.
Mm.
And I hear that you're tired, and then I would open up space of let me let me be on your team.
Mm.
Let's work together. You can lean on me a little bit, not all the way. I'm not that kind of coach. You're gonna have to do some work, but let's find your spark,
Mm.
gently, curiously, lovingly, not with this hard, rigid masculine energy, but with compassionate inquiry. Where is the spark? It's located somewhere, and we might have to identify some traumas. We might have to clear out some blocks. We might have to tell few people to fuck off. you know
Yes,
we
that's
might
my
have to
favorite.
Yeah, we might have to clean the closet out a little bit, to make space for what you really want to call in.
Mm.
So it's yeah, the process is really just identifying, you know what's the weight, what's weighing you down still, energetically, physically. How do we kind of cut the fat? And then leaning into starting to reignite your imagination again. Find
Mm.
that girl that dreamt about going to Italy when she was 12.
Yeah.
Start with her. What does she want? How does she like to play now? So
Mhm.
yeah, that's a bit of the process.
Got it. Yeah, I think that all sounds extremely fruitful. And I think many times it's not just people we have to say fuck off to, but it's, old that thought patterns, behavioral cycles, you had talked about like clearing out the closet,
Mhm.
metaphorically, but also physically, like look at your
Yeah.
space. I've been purging a lot the last few months.
Mm,
I've been reading this gorgeous book where it's an 8-week book, but it's called It's Not Your Money. And a girlfriend
mm,
gifted this to me. And it's about redefining how we identify with our money and source being like the ultimate sugar daddy type of thing.
mm,
But a part of the practice is going through and going through your spaces
mm,
digitally, like phones, computers,
mhm,
but also your physical spaces, and just
mhm,
lovingly removing them and, gifting them, selling them, whatever feels right to get rid of.
mm,
And so as I've been doing that I've never had the intention before of releasing things to love and with love. I've just kind of like, oh, I don't need this anymore. Goodbye. You're gone. I donate
mhm.
you. But it has led to such a profound expansiveness where like I walk into one of my closets, which used to have, I don't know how many pieces of clothing. I got rid of 70% of my closet.
Yeah.
And I walk in there now and I'm like, the air is different.
Mhm.
You
It
know what I
is.
mean? So imagine
Yep.
like, if you're cleaning your external space of
Mm,
toxic people, things that no longer have full resonance of love.
yeah.
That I think also applies to the internal space. And then you have all this air flowing, right? So it's kind of like there's a lot of
Mm,
chi. Or
mhm.
like, what's the word when you do that to your house? Feng shui. When you feng shui your house, you're feng shuiing your internal space too.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love how you tie that in with, physical and internal worlds.
Yeah.
If we think of everything kind of as energy,
Mm.
everything kind of takes up energetic space, whether it's internal or external. So yeah, what you're speaking to is kind of like clearing your hard drive, and you can do that in numerous ways. And
Yeah.
especially, yeah, why wouldn't you do that in your home, which is
Mhm.
where, your body, your nervous system can probably out of anywhere, unless you got some beautiful retreat in Bali. But it can really regulate and ground outside of any place else. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't your own temple, be so intentional of like energetically, is this still aligned for me? This chair, like, do I need, 10 black sweaters? Do I really need that? What if
Mhm.
I donated four, someone got use from that, and then I had
Mhm.
kept the three?
Yeah.
There's another beautiful practice of I would like to start incorporating. I'm going to speak to my daughter about this idea, and we'll see how that goes. But just whenever we choose to buy something,
Mhm.
to choose another thing to gift.
Yeah.
I just heard that from Christina Hassler.
Oh,
she
yeah, yeah, yeah.
she does that. So I was like,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
a
it's
that.
for sure. I've done that where now it doesn't work. Well, I guess now it's different, but it used to be I only had a certain number of hangers.
Hmm.
It's for clothes only.
Yeah.
So you can only have as many clothes as will fit on the hangers. And then of course
Hmm.
you have to then there's no choice but to give it away.
I
Um,
like that. I
yeah.
like that. That's
Uh-huh.
so, and that's just a great metaphor of being very intentional with like with your space and your energy. And
Yeah.
where do you get it? You can't get energy back. So
Right.
choose so intentionally, where do you want to put it? Who do you want to put it into?
Sure.
Where do you want it to be consumed with what knowledge? Even on your like social media, kind of clearing out, unfollowing or whatever certain things, so you're not just like bogged down with all this clutter.
Yes, clutter, it is definitely, yep, it's everywhere. And
Mm,
I'm curious kind of with the burnout situation, right? There's, I would argue maybe there's many, many reasons why humans, but specifically women experience burnout. And I'm curious what your thoughts are as far as like why women seem to be so impacted by it. Like some develop
mm,
autoimmune disease from
mm-hmm,
burnout and they think it's just, oh, it's just my body,
mm.
but it's actually other things going on. But anyway, can we
Yeah,
dive into
yeah,
that a little bit? Like, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think women primarily, and that is also my primary focus. Right now I'm not working with men, and it's just women. I think it's because, we're wonderful multitaskers. First of all, we're so good at that, and we're so good at seeing and being at so many places at one time. And almost to our own detriment, we're really, really good at living and operating outside of ourselves if needed. So
Mm-hmm.
I think burnout comes from a level of feeling like, you don't have a choice but to show up and give and give and give and give and make sure everything is good. Um, so it's like we're not really taught that we need to check in with ourselves. Are we nourishing ourselves first? So if I'm not nourishing myself and I keep on giving, well that's a level of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
We emptied our cup kind of thing. And women are so beautifully nourishing and resilient, but we're not actually raised or taught, I think, to check in with where we're at and start and really to say no. No, I don't have energy for that, and that to be okay. We're not really
Mm-hmm.
taught that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a root cause of burnout. And I have so much admiration for my journey and for other women's journey, just how much, we're willing to do, to conquer, to like, throw us anywhere and we'll learn how to swim kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But really, we can do so much more if we are being lovingly selfish and
Yeah.
making sure we're nourishing ourselves, so that we don't reach a level of burnout because you can only get so far, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it a lot in my family with the women. Like we have such high capacity, and this is not a comparison game, but I just witnessed the level of capacity that we have, and I'm like, fuck, this is
mm-hmm,
a lot. But I'm the one who has chosen to still
mm-hmm,
uphold my level of capacity, but in the last few years, like really just slow down.
mm-hmm,
And to use your word, no,
mm,
is something that is not powerfully ingrained within the female psyche.
yep, yep,
And I'm curious what your thoughts are for those who don't really have that word um, solidly ingrained in them
yeah,
from in a workplace environment, but also interpersonal. What
yeah.
would be some tools or practices they could do where they could fully integrate that, where it feels safe to actually step forward and own their no?
I think for thinking back in my journey, what's really helped me, especially, I mean, I was in a very long codependent relationship. Um, Parts of it were very codependent, where I would kind of lose myself in the needs of my partner. And so I think part of my journey from coming back to being showing up authentically in relationship was, well, one exercise that I practiced for a long time was pausing before I would answer. I would give myself, all right, 10 seconds. And I would tell people, I think it was 5 to 10 seconds. And I would tell people I'm doing this practice to make sure I'm actually honoring myself and just saying, and instead of being like, Dom, you want to go for Chinese food? And I'm like, no, not really. you know? But yeah, it's really pause with that before I answer anybody, and feel into my body and ask like, does this feel like a yes or a no? And what that slowly will do over time was it'll help your body, also your nervous system, trust
Mm,
you, trust that you're trying to pull it back into alignment. A quick segue, you brought up, health conditions coming up, autoimmune disorder coming up. I think those are uh, it's a hard disorder, but it's also a disorder that brings you back into your body. It forces you. I'm like, nah, bitch, come back here. You're like doing all this stuff out here. You're ignoring this
yeah.
consistently. This isn't sustainable. So it's almost a way to force you to come
Ah,
back,
yeah. Yeah.
and your body really is working for you, not
Hmm.
against you. It's
Hmm.
just like, listen to it. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes it'll kind of make things where it's like, it'll make it
Mhm.
difficult for you to ignore it anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
look, you ignore the signs.
Yeah.
It's time to come back here. Fuck off everything else, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the big experiences for me was getting into a car accident a few years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it forced me, like, I didn't have a vehicle. I
Mm-hmm.
also didn't have like I had too much pain to really be super mobile and do the activities that I normally love
Mm,
doing. So
yeah.
my workout and my adventure time and snowboarding time was more so spent internally.
Yeah.
Um, and it really caused that pause. And then
Mm,
to your point, kind of bringing it back to, like autoimmune or other physical challenges that people face.
mm,
Just last night in one of my somatic trainings, I was listening
mm,
to this panel of women who have disabilities that impact their lives, but this was a focus more on like sexual function.
mm-hmm,
Anyways, one of the women said something so beautiful. She's like, the way that there's been changes. One of the ways that it's changed is changes the way that my body can function, the way I
mm-hmm,
look, the way I feel within my body.
mm-hmm,
And that's been a negative impact on me. But
mm-hmm,
coming to your point that you just made, she said, but also it's been a great blessing because it's brought me
mm-hmm,
back into myself. It's caused me to
mm-hmm,
slow down and really listen to my yeses, my nos, and not push past my capacity. And I
mm-hmm,
think it's time for all of us, definitely the feminine, to step into a new structure and really demand that our society respect that structure.
mm-hmm,
Loving seeing women online stepping into more like masculine spaces, like this one woman, Celine, I follow. She's known for
mm-hmm,
investing. And she was on a panel talking to, and she was the only female represented up there. And she was talking to the audience about women matching their cycles and how
mm-hmm,
to make money and invest dependent upon where they are in their cycles or what they could be doing for pitching and knowing where their
mm-hmm,
energy is so that they're more open. And like the men looked so uncomfortable that she was talking about the female cycle. But I
mm-hmm,
was just like, fuck yeah. And of course, all the
mm.
comments were cheering her on because
Fuck
these are
yeah.
big, bold steps of changing our dynamic. And I'm
Yep.
curious for you, like if you had
Mm,
a magic wand and could make some changes,
mm,
what would be the first one that you would do?
mm. Ooh. Mm, mm. Let me think. I think the first change, I think uh I think the first change I would do is have some have it almost somehow structure like a requirement of intentional um meditation, mindfulness with our youth and
Mhm.
really birth it from a young age because I think, almost anything and uh almost any like world tragedy that's going on, like over in Israel and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. But you can almost trace it all back to someone's childhood,
Yeah.
with some of these scary dictators and stuff like that. You could trace it back to the childhood. So I just imagine what if we were in a world that we taught our children to learn to touch in with themselves and to explore their feelings and to sit in pause, you know, and to sit in quiet just with themselves and really you know, um, embody grounding into yourself, into your feelings, into regulating your nervous system.
Yeah.
And if we could just start with that, I think this is the woke age, so there's a lot of people in our age group, that are doing this work in a very beautifully concentrated manner. I fucking love seeing it. It's awesome. And then the generation past, our parents are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like they just consider like, oh, you're a hippie. You're a hippie, right? Is that what you are? You know? Like the modern hippie.
Yeah.
But yeah, imagine if we were teaching our children
Yeah.
that it's okay to sit and pause and it's okay to feel into your feelings and how do you regulate your nervous system.
Hmm.
I just think that would make such an impact.
Yeah.
That's what I would do with the wands. Hmm.
Beautiful. And if you could go back in time and give a younger you some words of wisdom, to what age would you visit and what would you say?
Ooh, tough question, Cynthia. If I could go back to a younger version of me, uh, what age and what wisdom would I give her? Or yeah. Hmm. I would uh I would go back. Um I would go back to my 14-year-old and I would sit with her and I would hug her and I would tell her that she has an abundance of love flowing through her and she doesn't that she's not darkness. She isn't the dark things that's happened to her or the generations before her. Um, that her only her only purpose could literally be just going through life and sharing her light and living in her love, and that she'll be completely safe and everything will be okay in doing that. That's what I would. That's what I would tell her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel that for sure, baby.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, babe, I, I'm at,
I'm gonna go cry now.
Cool, me too. Full disclosure, I was totally in my inner child prior to us recording, like the hour before, and
Hmm.
she's been one of her has been stepping forward a lot the last few weeks,
Hmm.
just begging for something that I don't know that I can give her right now in the fullness of
Hmm.
what she wants. But I think
Hmm.
taking that pause and acknowledging who we need to talk to, right, within
Hmm.
ourselves
Hmm.
really impacts our timeline in a quantum way. So that's
Hmm.
why I love
Hmm.
asking this question.
Hmm.
If
Yeah,
I
yeah.
give you that answer, you are talking to her.
I am. Yeah, time's so relative and
Yeah.
it's really never too late.
Yeah,
It's never too late. Yeah.
I fully agree. Well, Dom, the floor is yours. If there's more you'd like to share, touch on, it's you. Go for it.
Hmm. I think I just want to share what I'm roaring right now in my circles is true success does not require self-sacrifice.
Oof.
Fuck that. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, that's kind of my message. That's what I'm roaring like
Oh,
loudly.
I hear that. And for y'all who are just listening, not watching, Dominique has lioness hair, like full on, like roaring, gorgeous golden locks.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, big cat energy.
Yeah, thanks. I floofed it right before our session. I'm like, I'm bringing the whole mane.
I love it so much, and I just adore you. So thank you for
Yeah.
coming and gracing us with all of your light, your magic, your fucking wisdom, which is
Mm,
so deep, right? The river is really, really
mm,
deep with you.
mm,
And I would love
mm,
for you to let everyone know where they can find you and your
mm.
work.
Yes. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for bringing your sugar and your spice and your sparkle and your lovely unicorn self. I love you so much. And I am and so in awe of you sharing yourself and your light and your inner child's light is just glowing through you, whether you know it or not, every single day. So every day I see you on the gram and I am so looking forward to seeing you in person. So just said that publicly. I'm excited. Anyway, you guys, you lovelies can find me on www.ignitingqueens.com. Do we even have to say W's anymore? Sorry. Like, is that a thing?
That's a
Anyway,
millennial
and
for you.
yeah, right. And then, yeah, I'm on Insta at Igniting Queens.
Amazing.
So, yeah, yeah.
Gorgeous. Well, everyone,
Mm,
please, please, please check out her work. This is a human being that we all, I think, could glean a lot of
mm,
insight from. And there's very few people who can show up in such a powerhouse way and who I think always selects the perfect words.
mm.
So extremely articulate, and I think every word
Thank
chosen
you.
just again like flows deep into your well of wisdom. So
Mm.
Thanks so much for
Mm,
being here, babe. And
thank
everyone else,
you.
thank you for listening.
Yeah.
As always, please share this episode with whomever you think could really be touched by it. And of course, leaving a review is super easy to do. No matter what platform you're on, it just takes, maybe 10 seconds of your time and it helps others to find her drive. And until next time, I love you all and see ya.
All right. Bye. Thank you.